Alright, I have like the fade in of the thing, and then we start talking. Welcome to another All-Star Interviews with Fred Atkins, presented by Fred Atkins and All-Star Comics Melbourne. Today, not shot in All-Star Comics, but instead shot in the Nerdburger HQ. Today we have Savanna Ganucheau, a world-renowned artist and comic maker. Hello, Savanna.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, no problem.
So, for people that don't know a lot of your work, you have a lot of like very small indie things, but you also do a lot of work for bigger companies, but not as like a big name illustrator. What kind of work do you do?
I started out doing colorist work, so I do a lot of coloring work. I've done coloring work for Invader Zim and well, I did a cover for Rick and Morty. I can't really think of anything. As soon as I start talking about what I've done, can't think of a thing. And Fresh Romance, I did some coloring for them. And I did coloring on Toe Tag Riot. And I think that's... I probably have done more, but I can't remember right now.
But it's a lot of like fairly steady work, would you say?
Yeah, so people are always looking for colorists for sure. A lot of colorists are artists, so when they start out, they're just trying to get into drawing, and so they'll abandon it. So usually people are looking for colorists, good colorists. Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of people, when they look at a comic, they've got the writer's name on it and the artist's name on it, and that's kind of it. But when you open it up, you actually see all the people that worked on it, because you got like the penciler and the inker and the colorist and the person that does the word balloons and stuff like that. And I feel like there's a whole bunch of jobs in the industry that people don't really know about. And so thinking about the work that you do in those kinds of things, so you don't just do coloring and stuff like that. What has been some of the kind of obscure jobs that you've had in terms of actual comic work?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that like comics are a bit of an assembly line. It's just trying to get the comic out as fast as possible. And I did a sort of job like that. It's called color flatting. I did that for Zodiac Star Force. And basically what you do is you get the line art for the book, and then you just fill in all of the shapes with colors so that the colors can go in and sort of make it into a finished piece, like put a palette on it and make it presentable and pretty. And you're just there to like get the work out as fast as possible, basically.
Okay, because I know there's a lot of books, even like really big name. Brightest Day is the DC event from a few years ago, but there was like one of the final issues, and it even happens now, but they were running out of time to get it out. So the final issue has about 5 different artists on it, and every like 10 or maybe like, I don't know, 6 to 10 pages it swaps artists. And it gets very confusing.
Yeah.
But is that the kind of work that you would be doing, or like it's just an example of trying to get it out as soon as possible? Yeah,
I've done sort of weird jobs like that. I've never been in like a fill-in artist sort of thing. The weirdest sort of job I did was there was this children's book done by, I can't remember the name of the man, but he was like a comic book artist, and his hard drive died, and they only had these really low-res versions of all the drawings. Wow. So basically what I had to do was take them into Photoshop and trace them completely. So I was like an inker, but I was also like making them big and pretty again, I guess. It was a really weird job. I don't know if it ever came out either. It was, I mean, I got paid for it, but it was like a really strange job.
Yeah. So when you're there doing coloring, and I've heard this from a few people that I know that have done inking in the past, do you ever go there and go, I don't think this quite looks right, I think I should color it differently, even though they said, oh, color it this way, and you go, I think you should be better this way. Are you able to put your own style into it like that?
Yeah, the only really hard direction I ever got, like, we want it colored this way, was from Toe Tag Riot, and it was because I was replacing a colorist. So they wanted it to be, they didn't want to like jar their readers or anything. Right. So I replaced the colorist in issue 2. And so I had to basically emulate his style, but they told me slowly I could start doing things my own way. So by issue 4, like I'm pretty much coloring it the way I would want to. Yeah, I mean, artists are pretty lenient about it. It's, if you want to color something, you just really ask. I mean, it's all about communication because you're working on a team, of course.
Nice. And so the other thing I want to ask, because you're really working in the industry, what kind of books do you constantly read? Like books that you really love that you reread, or new stuff that's coming out?
Oh, yeah. Right now, so while I'm working on my graphic novel Bloom, I have like a stack of graphic novels that I'm constantly looking at and using for reference of just like, I don't know, like weird things like, oh, can you put a word bubble like that? It's like, I don't know, weird things that I think about. This One Summer and Seconds and Something New, the new Lucy Knisley book. Yeah. Yeah, those ones I have like pretty much always next to my desk. I also really love Wandering Sun. It's a manga, but it has really beautiful art and really nice panels and like directional, like for reading. That's not a good way to word that.
That's fine. So you mentioned your graphic novel Bloom that you're currently working on, and because you're also doing colorist work and stuff like that, do you find it hard to divide your time between books that you want to do your own stuff and work that you need to do to pay for things to make your own book?
Well, right now I'm pretty much only working on Bloom. I have a few things that I'm doing, but they're all either like personal projects or I have one job coming up that I agreed to. But I haven't been doing much colorist work recently. I've been trying to get into drawing. I've been able to do like, I drew a Lumberjane short and an Adventure Time short. So I've been able to sort of break in to doing actual art, which has been great. But I'm just trying to get some more of those jobs just to get my name out there before the book comes out.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. And so going on from that, thinking about your art and trying to get your stuff out there, what do you find are like the best ways? Like besides, I mean, obviously doing work for big name publishers, obviously showing your work like that, but something for someone that's maybe doing a few more kind of independent books, what would you say would be something that you would?
Yeah, so networking is really important. I would say for somebody who's just starting out doing indie stuff, I would say get a Twitter and interact with comic book people because that's where they all live. And I would say make comics and make sure people see them because you need to really know how to use tags and make sure people look at them. Like put it on Reddit, be really annoying. Like that's what I would say. Like post it over and over again until people look at it. Yeah. Obviously not like spam, but
no
like,
no one's gonna say, oh, I really like the artist because he doesn't really tell you about the work that he does.
Exactly.
They're gonna say, oh, I've heard this artist, I can't get it out of my mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the time, like somebody will post something and I'll be like, oh, I can't read that right now. And then they repost it. I'm like, oh, thank God they reposted that because I would have forgotten to read it. Yeah. I would say definitely just make sure your online presence is, showing up on people's dashboards or Twitter feeds or whatever.
Okay. And so going on, thinking about, so just before we were talking about dividing your time, but also being an independent illustrator, how do you feel about doing work that isn't necessarily your own thing, but kind of like commissions and fan work, as it were? So someone's like, I could spend my time right now working on my book a bit more, or I could draw the Superman picture and kind of get a bit of traction on that.
Right. That's a good strategy too. I mean, every now and then I definitely will draw fan art just to be like, try to get some more followers. And I mean, usually, people, they'll like fan art, but maybe they're not really into what you're doing for originals or like they only like your work because you're drawing fan art. But every now and then there's a person that's like, a real fan of yours all of a sudden because they figured they found you through this fan art. So it's good to draw fan art sometimes, but I definitely like know people who like sort of get into a rut of just only doing that. But also that is also a career though, like doing conventions and having prints made up. I drew a lot of fan art, maybe in college, but I wasn't really focusing on my career anyway. So it was more just for fun. But I never really got into doing like really big finished pieces of fan art. Mostly just because it didn't feel very self-satisfying to me. I'd much rather work on an original piece to completion and have that out there than a fan art.
So thinking about your own work, you've had a few kind of really small indie things. We have a couple here. We've got Street Beat. I know we've also got Borb somewhere.
Yeah, Borb.
Things like that. And what like got you to go from I'm going to do really like small press stuff to I'm going to make an entire graphic novel?
Well, I did these for a zine fair, and I just so like Modelbot was a webcomic that I worked on for a little bit, and I still would like to do one day. I would like to do a I'd try to pitch it somewhere or something. But yeah, I just like to do little things every now and then. I mean, the graphic novel thing was something that was a big process of me and Kevin sort of pitching it places and trying to get it published. And yeah, it was just sort of happened. We were like, you know, I don't know. The little comics are, I've always loved doing those. When I was in high school, I used to draw little comic books and photocopy them and give them to my local comic book store to sell. And so I've always like really liked doing that sort of like little zine work and stuff. Yeah, it's always been fun.
All right, and now thinking about zines, could you be able to suggest some local or even international like indie comic zine makers that you should look out for?
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone that springs to mind.
I'm trying to think.
While you think, I totally forgot that I was meant to put the All-Star logo in at some point. I'm going to do it digitally, so it'll be right here. If it's not there, I probably just forgot about it. All right, Savanna, so what artists can you think of that you really want to...
I definitely would say Jake Lawrence does a lot of like small indie work, but he also did Teen Dog. Teen Dog, yeah. And Tom Eccles, he's also from Melbourne. He's a local artist. He does like little zine work and really good illustration. I can't think of anything else right now, but I'll send you a list.
Yes, if you send me a list, I'll put names of interesting people. And so there's some really great work, but you also have a lot of good work. We mentioned Bloom before. Can you tell me a bit more about like what it's about? Don't go into too much detail because it's coming out.
Of course.
But, you know, what is Bloom about?
So Bloom is a graphic novel by myself and Kevin Panetta. He wrote it. Kevin Panetta also did the writing on Zodiac Star Force, and he did Mutant Punks Fuck Off, which is also another indie comic, which is really good. But it's a sort of coming of age story about a young man who lives in a boardwalk town in New England area. His family owns a bakery, and he's sort of going through a transition time in his life where he wants to sort of break out of that town and sort of figure out what he wants to do. But it's not really the best time for it. And it's sort of just about that journey through him, and he meets a boy and falls in love.
That's wonderful. Okay, so going on from that now, what would you say would be the comics? So you're making that kind of comic, but what kind of comics do you read that got you into making comics like that?
So I've been reading comics pretty much forever. First comic I got was a present from my older brother. It was Ranma 1/2, which is super not okay to give a first grader, but it's got a lot of boobies in it.
You're like 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah, probably like first grade. Yeah, it's like 6 years old.
Good work,
Ranma.
brother.
Thanks. Yeah, so I got into manga. I was really into manga like growing up forever. I definitely think Ranma was like it's like what I based my initial art style after. I love Rumiko Takahashi's art, so much. And then, you know, just the standards, Gundam, Sailor Moon. And then the first like Western format comic I ever bought, I bought in, I guess it was middle school. I really liked the game Darkstalkers.
Oh yeah.
And the character Felicia, and we were in a comic book store, and there was a comic, a Darkstalkers comic with Felicia on it, and I was like, yes, I want this, and I bought that. That was like my first Western format comic. And then from there, in high school, I got really into Batman. And also Young Justice, the original 90s run of it. I was really into Young Justice, and I loved, you know, that Impulse, Robin, Superboy. I loved them so much. And then I got really into DC from there, but sort of stopped reading after the reboot. But I've always been reading, you know, graphic novels and comics for forever. So, yeah, it's just, you know, comics are the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you think that. I mean, it makes sense if you're making your own comic. You're gonna love other comics that other people make. Just to be certain, I'm gonna put another clip of the All-Star logo in case I forget again. I'm gonna put that here. Excellent. Is there any kind of date for when Bloom is coming out, or it's just kind of to be determined at this point?
It's fall 2018.
Okay, so we got a while.
Yeah.
A lot of build up. Excellent. Well, I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic. Is there anywhere that we can go to look at your stuff or to buy some of your stuff if people want to support your wonderful work?
Yeah, so you can always find me on Twitter at SRGANUCH, and I have all my links up there. I have a art Tumblr that is savvybunnyart.tumblr.com. I think there's a dash in there somewhere, but I don't remember where.
Just search for it, you'll find it.
I have a Patreon now, so
Yes.
if you want to support me on Patreon. I also have a webcomic called George and Johnny that's on Tapastic. I would say go to my Twitter first, because that's where you'll find all my links, and I'm always there wasting time, so if you ever want to talk to me, that's where I am.
Excellent. And you've done work for Boom and, I want to say, Oni?
Yeah.
And any other companies that I can think of?
Boom, Ani, Black Mask, I think that's pretty much it.
So if people watching go to those companies and demand to see more work from you, that's probably a good thing as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. That was a good interview. I don't know how to end this one. Savanna Ganucheau.
Bye. Yay.
I hadn't thought that far ahead.